Welcome to another episode of Risk. This is another 6-player fixed card game on classic Risk map which is being played with public randoms. Settings: balanced blitz dice rolls, 60 seconds per turn, no alliances. Judging by my opponent's stats, it seems that the orange and blue players are my most decent opponents, which would be good to eliminate if I get such an opportunity. The orange player wins every third or fourth game he plays, and the blue player wins every second game he plays, so the blue player actually is my most dangerous opponent who could take a victory from me. Then the opponents with the worst win-loss ratio are the green and pink players. The green player wins every 8th or 9th game he plays, and the pink player wins every 7th game he plays. So these are opponents which I should be the most careful about to not annoy them too much, because they are the ones who are most likely to throw the game. And then in the middle, the stats-wise, we have the yellow player who on average wins every 5th or 6th game he plays. I was the 4th player to make a turn, and from what I saw is that the green player was moving towards North America, the pink player brought some troops to Australia, and the yellow player added his troops to Africa. So by obviously not wanting to contest for a continent with any of these players, I wasn't going to add any troops to the continents they are going for. And from these 3 continents I only had some troops in North America, but not that much, so these continents weren't a good option for me anyways. The continent which I had the most troops into was Asia, but obviously it would be impossible to capture it in the beginning of the game with a lot of other players' troops into it. And then if you somehow did, then nobody would want you to hold it anyways, so you would get easily invaded and being low on troops get eliminated from the game fast. So what I saw is that my Asian troops were on the territories of the Middle East and Afghanistan, and both of them are connected to Europe, so having the most of troops next to Europe, it influenced my decision to go for it as it seemed to be the most suitable continent I could capture, as besides that the 3 players before me didn't go for it, and the 2 players who go after me didn't have quite a lot of troops into it, meaning that there would be unlikely for them to go for Europe if I add my troops there first. And with all of the players' turns being already passed, I see that nobody is going to contest with me for it, so I assume I made a great decision to select this continent to go for. That was possible that the orange player could have added troops to Europe and contest with me for it, but being an opponent who has a relatively good win-loss ratio, he probably understands that it would have been really purposeless to do so, as it would have made both of us to get destroyed. But in case I haven't had added my troops to Europe, then I assume he would have gone for it. So with the orange player not being able to go for Europe, he added his troops to North Africa, probably wanting to see if he was able to go for South America, as the yellow player didn't add any troops to it, and then it was the blue player's turn to see what he does, which unfortunately for orange, added the troops to South America, showing that he will be going for it. Or maybe the orange player expects if he build his army big enough, then the yellow player might move out from it and let him have Africa, I don't know. Or also it's possible that the orange player, by seeing that he won't be able to capture any continent for now, he wants to prevent others from capturing continents as well for as long as possible. As the blue player with the orange player's army near is not going to wipe out the yellow player's 4 troops, weakening himself, just for the orange player possibly wiping blue out himself if getting a set. And then the yellow player will be prevented from capturing Africa as well, with the orange player building a big army in it. And also with his army bordering Europe, I will probably delay of capturing Europe as well, not going to weaken myself too much, as after all I could end up not holding Europe at all. All in all, I think the orange player is waiting for a good opportunity to come, and before that he is just building his troops to one big army, which of course might be a great idea to turtle putting your troops to one big army when you are not able to capture any continent at all. And even though the orange player doesn't get to capture any continent for himself, at the same time by putting his troops to one big army on North Africa, prevents others from getting a continent as well. So in overall he won't end up being in a disadvantage, as other players the troop-wise will be as strong as him not having continents as well. So besides obviously the pink player, who was able to get Australia almost immediately, and currently he is the only person who holds a continent. And then the green player might be able to capture North America in case nobody prevents him from capturing it. There are still a lot of other players' troops into it, so in case he decides to immediately wipe them out, then if not getting good blitz rolls and being able to properly guard his borders, he could get invaded. Anyways, being lucky enough to have a set at 3 cards, what I decided to do is to capture Europe properly guarding all of its borders. There's a possibility that the pink player could decide to invade me, but if he won't, then I should be the fastest growing player ending up being the strongest. I could have just played safe and just traded in a set and waited till some players weaken each other quite a bit, or could have just put my European troops to one big army leaving ones on the borders, but I mean with the risk there could come better conditions to have advantage and might even win. Unfortunately not this time. I decided to guard all of my borders so it would discourage other players from wasting troops on me. Rather, if I had left my borders with ones, and everyone would have been able to invade me if they wanted. And pretty much the pink player would have been the only one who could have really afforded to invade me, considering he was the only one with a continent. And while I wasn't that much worried about other players since they were busy with other stuff of getting continents for themselves firstly, I was still kinda afraid of the orange player who, by having a big army on North Africa, seemed to be wanting to prevent the players near of getting continents, but I assumed if I properly guard, then he wouldn't be wasting his troops on me. But as you can see, I was wrong. I should have kinda seen it coming, considering the orange player wanted to prevent small continents from getting captured like Africa and South America, so with his biggest army being near, I should have been expected to get attacked by him after capturing Europe, which is a big continent. Though I will say that he just probably done the dirty work for the pink player. The pink player has a continent which he gets additional troops from, while the orange player doesn't have any continent at all. So all in all, I would say that the orange player and overall just decreased both of our chances to win, making both of us as the weakest players who have the highest chances to be eliminated first. It's a 6-player situation, so we should really be in a disadvantage, so unless some other players decide to fight each other, ending up getting weakened as well. Anyways, all in all, I knew that it was a risk for me to get invaded and lose some troops, ending up in a disadvantage, so it wasn't something really unexpected. Sometimes risks work out, sometimes not, and you can never know, but it could still be fun no matter what. The game is called Risk after all, and it could be fun to risk it to increase your advantage rather than always making the decisions which you think would be the safest ones. Anyways, with the orange player not trading in a set, I think there is a possibility that I could take him out, as I assume the yellow player after trading in a set should blitz his North African army in order to capture Africa for himself, so then all of the orange player's troops left will be 1 troop territory of Europe, and 3 territories with a few troops in Asia, so I added the 3 troops I've got to the army of Ukraine to strengthen it and possibly finish taking the orange player out in case such an opportunity comes. But alright, it seems the pink player is taking the whole orange player out by himself. So no extra troops for me in case the yellow player would have actually blitzed the orange player's North African army, but on the other hand he wouldn't have necessarily blitzed it. I assume he should be a relatively passive player due to the fact that he was building his army in the blocked African place of Madagascar. Though it could not necessarily indicate that he is very passive, it could be actually very smart to keep distance from another player's army, especially if you're in the same continent, as otherwise that player could think that you want to blitz his army or even suicide on him, so that player could decide to blitz your army first by himself, ruining the game for both of you. So I assume it was a smart thing for the yellow player to keep his army in a blocked place, so he wouldn't have irritated the orange player, especially when knowing that the suiciding in public lobbies is quite often. Anyways, as you can see, I'm clearly the weakest player having the worst position, so as long as other players want it, I should be taken out next, So what I really hope is to trade in a set as soon as possible, even if it is a bad one, otherwise I could be taken out for the cards, or not necessary for the cards but that there would be one opponent fewer in the game. So I think my upcoming destiny will really depend on the yellow and pink players, and especially pink. I assume he is the strongest one and having 5 cards trading a set, so he might decide to take me out. When it comes to green and blue I think they will be busy with their own stuff, and when it comes to yellow, I think he could consider to only invade me but not fully trying to take me out, as then I assume he would really worsen his position, probably being the player to get eliminated next. Anyways, as you can see this time I'm trying to play safe, and instead of properly guarding all of my borders, I decided to put my troops to one big army inside of Europe. So if someone just wants to invade me, then I will lose only one troop instead a bunch of them. Also, since I won't be adding troops on the borders, other players might not see any threat from me, so by not feeling threatened they might be perfectly fine of me holding Europe. As you saw, the pink player let me hold Europe while went for Asia, so I think he assumes if he doesn't invade me into Europe, then I won't invade him into Asia. And I mean that's right, if he doesn't invade me into Europe, then I won't attack him into his one troop border either. I mean, even though the pink player has Australia with Asia, we all still will be getting more troops than him combined, and when he will trade in a set once, we will trade in a set 4 times combined. So as long as we all get to hold our continents, I don't see any worry of the pink player dominating the game at all. I mean, he could become strong enough to take one of us out, but he would be far away from winning the game. So I definitely won't be the person to attack the pink player first, so obviously unless it would be needed for the balance of the game, but if not, then I know that by me attacking the pink player first, would make me get eliminated next, and the 5th place isn't something I want. The pink player is twice as strong as me, so it would be a very big risk to attack him, and if not getting taken out, then at least I wouldn't be able to hold Europe anymore. So I'm just not sure how I like the blue player's decision to prevent the green player from capturing North America. I mean, if they actually crush themselves, then the pink player could be put in a very advantageous situation for sure, highly increasing his chances to win. So if I were the blue player, then instead of preventing the green player from capturing North America by putting one of the armies to Central America, I would just combine my armies into one, putting it to the territory of Peru and using the South American turtle strategy, just being fine of not getting any cards at all. As I mean, all the attention would be around the pink player, either someone from red, yellow or green eventually decide to attack him, or the pink player by himself would attack one of these players, with the blue player himself being the only one player who would be isolated from pink. And what the blue player has just done now is also good as well, of course depending on how the green player reacts. As the green player getting annoyed by the blue player could seek to eliminate him, rather than focusing on the biggest threat, which is the pink player right now. So in overall I think it really depends on the green player, who as of now, still seems to be mostly worried about the blue player, when the blue player showed the initiative to attack pink, moving his troops out from North America. The green player, probably being the least experienced here judging by his stats, might not necessarily understand that the blue player isn't the player who he should be seeking to attack right now. And this is another reason why I think it would have been better for the blue player starting to turtle in South America, putting his troops to one big army in Peru, rather than to put one of his armies to the territory of Central America to prevent the green player from capturing North America, making him to be not really satisfied with blue. However, you can never really know how the game could go. That's possible. If the blue player just turtled, then the green player might have seek to eliminate him anyways. So you can never know for sure if the decision which looks to be the best, would be actually the best for sure. That's possible that the green player, being fine of blue and not having territories to attack, might have gone after me instead, invading me into Europe, so that might have been more problematic. All in all, it seems that the blue player's decision is working out very well as of now, with the blue player invading pink into Asia. The pink player hasn't recaptured Asia yet and just skipping his cards, so that leads of other player catching him up, and the pink player wouldn't seem to be that much of danger to attack anymore as long as two players would decide to start attacking him. It seems that the green player will finally start properly guarding another border, and that's good. With all of us holding continents, the pink player will be balanced for sure. As you can see, the European turtle strategy is really working out for me. The green player doesn't strengthen his border against me, and the pink and yellow players don't consider to attack me either. Obviously the yellow player wouldn't attack me when there's a threat of the pink player holding Australia with Asia, but the pink player probably wouldn't feel comfortable on invading me anymore either. I have one large army, and in case he invaded me, then I wouldn't have any problems to invade him into Asia and might even taking Australia from him. So while the pink player back then was at point to eliminate me, now we are almost as decent opponents. And as you can see, the yellow player has just invaded pink into Asia going through Europe. I had ones on the borders, so I basically lost no troops, so just ended up being with no continental bonus, and now it was a decision point for me, whether to recapture Europe and put my army to the middle again, or take Australia from pink, putting my army to the territory of Siam, so it would be impossible for the pink player to recapture Asia anymore. And as you can see, I went with the second choice. It would feel kinda bad to throw the yellow player under the bus, as nobody besides him would be attacking pink. The blue player showed the initiative but then got trapped, and the green player seems to not worry much about the pink player mostly adding his troops on the border with the blue player. But the downside is that the pink player could possibly decide to suicide on me because I took a continent from him, and then 5 troops continent was switched to the 2 troops 1, so I will be getting 3 troops fewer than before. And alright, the pink player invaded yellow into Africa, leaving his army there. So I assume in overall he is more mad on the yellow player and will be going after him. Who knows, but for now it seems I will be safe sitting in Australia. It's possible that the yellow player might decide to take out the pink player, even though it wouldn't be a great decision, and then that's possible that the green player will consider to invade the blue player, which wouldn't be a great decision either. And if I manage to stay neutral, then everything should really go according to the plan, getting to the 3-player situation fast, if not winning the whole game. Though it's really too soon to say for now, and that's possible that my opponents would not be dumb enough to crush a lot of troops on their opponent at the same time highly weakening themselves also. As it seems the yellow player was smart enough to not crush the pink player's army in order to regain Africa, and then it seems the green player isn't adding more pressure on the blue player either. Well, at least in this turn he didn't add more troops on the Central American border. So I don't know, I'm really interested to see where the whole situation goes if it doesn't become stalemate. All in all, I would say that the pink player has the biggest chances to get eliminated next, so maybe unless the green player decides to actually invade the blue player into South America. What I think is that the pink player will try to capture Europe and will get constantly invaded into it, so being without a continent at all, he should be the weakest player. Obviously I will try to avoid making my Australian army getting blocked, so I'm not going to capture the territory of India, so unless I decide that it would be better for me to appear being passive. But what I mean is that with my opponents putting pressure on each other, I wouldn't like to miss an opportunity to win in case they would actually weaken themselves by a lot. And then obviously I don't want the pink player's biggest army to be unleashed next to me, as he might still be mad and consider to suicide on me, ruining the game for both of us. As you can see, he has put his army to the territory of the Middle East again, and I'm not really sure what is up with that, as it's really weird spot to place your army in after capturing Europe. So by putting his army there, does he want to pressure the yellow player, or does he hope that I capture the territory of India and unleash his army towards me? The yellow player didn't invade pink into Europe, and by not wanting to possibly get suicided on, I didn't invade the pink player into Europe either, and it's kinda bad for me, as now I will be one of the weakest player with the pink player being one of the strongest ones. So if I knew that the yellow player would be fine of the pink player holding Europe, then I probably wouldn't have taken Australia from pink staying in Europe. But alright. After all, the pink player gets invaded into Europe by green, which was unexpected from me, since he was mostly paying the attention to the blue player. but adding all of his troops on the blue's border and not having any territory to attack, he decided to attack the territory of Iceland, which made the pink player to get invaded. So all in all, I assume it was really great for me that the blue player has finally decided to show some pressure to the green player by himself. That made the green player to get scared of getting succeeded on, so he completely moved his army away from the blue player's army. I don't really like that the pink player put his army towards me though, as it could possibly indicate that he is looking forward to suicide on me, though it's possible that he is mad by getting invaded into Europe by green, so he might be targeting green. He didn't make it completely obvious what he is going to do with the fortification choice, but he attacked the territory of mine instead of green, so I assume more likely for him to go after me. And oh no. Unfortunately, it seems he was looking to suicide all this time on me. Well, I understood the risk of taking a continent from a low-ranked player. Furthermore, he has gotten an extremely insane blitz roll, losing 21 troops fewer than me, attacking with a smaller army and still having 7 troops army left after the attack. I know that the attackers after 100 troops sometimes get a very big advantage, but it seems that the attackers after 50 troops sometimes might get a good advantage as well. I don't know, but we saw what happened with the pink player's blitz roll, so I'm just not sure if it's something extremely rare or not. Anyways, the yellow player is a bit of savage to wipe out the last territory of mine outside Australia to leave me completely trapped in Australia by pink. Though I'm really happy that he just wiped out that territory instead of considering to fully take me out. So that increases my chances a bit to survive, but I mean there's still the blue and green players who one of them should take me out for sure. Or even the pink player himself could possibly take me out after trading in a set if he stays alive. But alright, it seems that the bot took over him, so that gives me some more hopes to survive, as besides that it seems that the blue and green players mostly focus on each other as of now, with the yellow player not showing the intentions to take me out as of now either. But I mean, being so weak, I think that there's still no way that I will survive anyways. Well, maybe if I weren't with any cards, but in this case whichever player takes me out, will additionally get 3 cards, and also that player would also guarantee holding Australia for himself. The blue player could have just eliminated the pink bot and me from the game, but he didn't. And while it might not have been worth, it might have been quite close the value-wise, and he would have eliminated even 2 opponents, getting to a 3-player situation. Though for him to be in a 3-player situation with the green player probably doesn't look that much promising. But with me being so weak, I wouldn't be able to influence the game anyways. So if I were blue, then I would have eliminated pink and red, as it basically wouldn't have changed the situation much, but it would have made 2 opponents fewer to be in the game. Well, with the pink bot removing the troops from Indonesia, now I'm getting taken out by the yellow player anyways. And in case he gets a bad blitz roll, then I will be finished off by the blue player, so unfortunately the game becomes over for me here. The yellow player, by seeing that he could get a bad blitz roll, decided to wait for one more turn to be guaranteed taking me out, as also at the same time he might take Australia for himself too, instead of leaving it to the blue player, who seems to be without a continent at all and being chased by green. So it might be good for him to not let the blue player take over Australia, as then the conflict between green and blue more likely to continue. Anyways, it's really hard to say how the game goes after me getting eliminated. All 3 of the opponents focus on putting their troops on their single big armies, so besides the yellow player's Australian army, which is supposed to eliminate me, and neither green nor yellow are being invaded into their continents, even though they don't guard them at all, though their armies look threatening. And even though the green player seems to be focused on blue, I don't think he would be dumb enough to take him out, so the game would be given away to yellow. And alright, goodbye cruel word, I'm finally being taken out by yellow, so before that it seems he will either take over South America or invade green into North America, or both. So yeah, it doesn't really change much for me anyways. But wait. Did he just end his turn? So maybe after all he wants to protect me from getting eliminated from the game. I don't know. but it's possible it kinda starts looking this way. But I mean, we are going to see, maybe he will finally take me out next turn. But I mean, either way, the blue player lurking in Asia and every turn getting closer to Australia really intimidates me. So if not getting taken out by yellow, then I think I will get taken out by blue. It seems some kind of conflict might be going between green and yellow instead of the game stalemating like before, so I think it will be nice to see some action finally happening. Well, probably not that sort of action of a player suiciding. As even though getting a good blitz roll, I think the green player has still given the game away for the blue player. It's always easy to beat bots after dealing with real opponents, so the blue player shouldn't really count the pink player towards the balance of the game. So what I think is that the blue player should really try taking us out, getting favorable blitz rolls by being the attacker and trading in some sets from our cards. At the very least, I think the blue player could take the green player out, leaving me and the yellow player in Australia blocked. But alright, it seems at least in this turn the blue player won't take the green player out, even though he is moving towards South America and now crushing the green player's armies. So having a set, it would be possible for the green player to survive, though he would be still weak. But with that, we might still have some chances to make a comeback, especially with the blue player blocking some of his troops. So that might indicate that he might not necessarily look to take the green player out, probably taking South America just because wanting to finally retaliate against green after being pressured by him by a lot, and then guarantee holding a continent for himself. The yellow player moved out from Australia, and that's a very good sign. So just hopefully if the blue player doesn't take the green player out, then he still stays in the game rather than quitting it. As with the green player becoming a bot, the blue player could win once again if he plays smartly. I wish I would be able to finally attack a territory as well, but with me losing 8 troops and being with 4 cards, I think I would just get immediately eliminated. So I think it's still better for me to keep building my troops to one big army without attacking any territory at all, so unless the pink bot moves his troops out from me. But what I noticed is that the bots tend to stack their troops next to your armies, so I think I will get out of being surrounded by the bots' armies only if I crush the bots' army by myself, which as of now wouldn't look a great decision to be made. Unfortunately, it seems the green player disconnected and became a bot. But let's see what the yellow player is going to do. Alright, he has traded in a set, and even though it was only 4 troops won, it was still a very good idea to trade it in, because it's better to trade in a bad set getting fewer troops and be more safe, rather than hoard cards to risk it to potentially get eliminated for them. With the yellow player not adding any troops on the blue player's border, the blue player's Brazilian army still keeps being unleashed towards me. So that made me skip my card once again. And with the blue player crushing his troops on the green bot instead of attacking the yellow player, the situation looks very promising for sure. So I think it was very smart for the yellow player to add his troops not on the blue player's border in order to not pressure him. The blue player doesn't feel that much pressure of the yellow player, so it's fine for him to let the yellow player hold Africa, which he has it unguarded against the blue player. And furthermore, the blue player is just wasting his troops on the green bot, which for some reasons he didn't eliminate him back then when it was basically with no troops at all. And I think I should finally get a card, as one thing it would require to crush some pink bot's troops in order for the yellow or blue player to get to me, so I doubt they will do that, and then very likely being at 4 cards the pink bot is trading in a set, probably adding even more troops next to me and might even getting Asia, which being trapped would be a very bad scenario for me. So I think it was the best time for me to finally get a card and stop being trapped by a bot. It was finally the time for me to get back to the game. It seems that the blue player is expanding to North America while the yellow player to Europe. So then, with them possibly not being satisfied with each other getting those continents and starting to attack each other, I should be in a very good situation being in Australia, well, of course, if I successfully manage to get it. And what I think is to eliminate the green bot right now. I'm not sure if it's worth it, but I don't want the blue player getting 4 extra cards. with him eliminating green and taking over North America, the yellow player would probably take over Europe, but then the yellow player would probably get invaded by the pink bot, and that isn't something I want. So by additionally going through the pink bot's territories, it might make the things easier for the yellow player to successfully expand to Europe. And what I can say that it was worth for me to take the green bot out, were basically the same. I ended up with 3 fewer troops on my big army but getting 1 extra card. But also I've got a lot of territories made of ones which increased my total troops number by 8 troops, but these territories at this point of the game are very useless for me and will be captured by other players anyways, so just the thing is that the blue player didn't get to take out the green player for 4 cards. For him it would have been quite more worth than for me. Especially then some of these territories would have been the ones he would have wanted to capture anyways, the territories of North America. The yellow player has just captured Europe, and to make it less likely for him to get invaded by the bot, I think I will unleash the bot's biggest army by capturing the territory of Afghanistan. So the bot might capture the territory of Afghanistan rather than invading the yellow player into Europe. What I want is that the blue and yellow players would fight each other, but not the bot. I mean that none of the players would be struggling with the bot, that both of them would be able to fully focus on each other. So that's really awesome that the blue player has already immediately invaded the yellow player into Europe by himself after capturing North America. So now there will be an initiative for the yellow player to invade the blue player into North America, comparing if the blue player just let yellow hold Europe, and Europe had been invaded by the bot instead. The yellow player fortified his biggest army next to blue, and that's really promising. And that's really amazing. The blue player, without waiting any further, has decided to blitz the yellow player's biggest army firstly by himself to potentially get the attacker's advantage without waiting for the yellow player to trade in a set. And if the yellow player retaliates, then it will really increase my chances to win. And that's right, it seems he will, so I think the situation looks very good for me, especially with the blue player being at 4 cards and very likely attacking yellow back as well. Though if the blue player decides to be passive, then it might be bad, well, not something bad, but the game might just stalemate then. Anyways, I know that I shouldn't really focus on the bot, but I mean if I take the bot out instead of turtling, then with me becoming weaker, they might be willing to attack each other more. As with me having 1 big army, they might see that I could very likely win, so they might be discouraged from attacking each other as much. But now with me not appearing to be as much of a threat anymore, I think the blue player very likely attack the yellow player into his continents. Though who knows, if I had kept having 1 big army without taking the bot out, maybe the blue player would have considered to attack the yellow player anyways, and then I might have gotten a very easy win. Who knows? But in overall I don't complain, the situation still looks very good for me. And I think the yellow player has just sent some laughing emojis because he thinks that the blue player has just given the game away for me. But the thing is that I have a crappy set, so I think I should have really added all of my troops to China to the unleashed army rather than adding some troops to India as well, as then I think I would have been guaranteed taking the yellow player out. As now I'm not so sure. I mean, if I get a bad blitz roll and fail taking the yellow player out, then blue wins. I think it's unlikely, but still possible. And after all, the yellow player has saved me by shielding me in Australia back then, so I think it's fair for me to give him another chance as well. I might still take him out if he doesn't have set, but even if he does, it seems that the blue player has just quit the game anyways, and I have the advantage over the yellow player anyways, so at the end I would still eventually take him out, and then would probably deal with the blue bot easily. And it seems the yellow player doesn't have a set, so I think I won, though I have fewer chances to take him out comparing with the last turn, but with the blue player disconnecting, now I know that the blue player isn't an issue. The yellow player is congratulating me for winning, so let's say thanks to him. I don't know if I actually successfully take him out though, so I'm not saying a good game yet. But yeah, I really like the yellow player. He was so nice to shield me in Australia after I've got suicided on by the pink player. so that's really appreciated. And also I think I can say that the yellow player is a very good player in general. I think he is the one who knew about the balance of the game the most from all of my other opponents, which all of them were more or less suicidal. So I think the yellow player is the only one who hasn't made any dumb attacks, and because of that it's really surprising for me to find out that actually he was the lowest ranked opponent in this game, being at novice rank, as he really played very well.